Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. I've somber news today. I've been out today, and I saw earlier about the terrible news that Eric Greif, unfortunately, has passed away. Eric Greif, for those that aren't familiar, was the manager of Death and Chuck Schuldina's affairs. He was best friends with Chuck Schuldina and was the manager of Death whilst Chuck was alive, and he spent his later days as a lawyer, mainly working for musicians. And what he would do is people would be getting like a new record deal or something like that, and he would mull over it and go through the finer points and make sure the guys got a good deal and present, he'd represent bands and things like that. He managed a number of different bands, but what a lot of people either don't know or forget, he was also tried his hand as a producer. He actually produced and played keyboards on Spiritual Healing, and he produced the Mortar Skuld demos, as well as Spectrum of Death, the masterpiece by Morbid Saint, as well as also underrated little gem, Richly, I'll take the thing off there, Richly Abused by Numbskull. I thought I'd do a video today just in tribute, but I think a good way to pay tribute to people is always tell a little story about them. And I'll tell you the story about the time I interviewed Eric. I was obviously, if you're a fan of a regular viewer, you know I'm a massive fan of Death. Death is one of my all-time favourite bands. And one thing that Eric did in the last decade or so was making Death's back catalogue available again, because it was tracking those albums down was quite a task a few years ago. A lot of people don't realise it now, and the fact that there's so many reissues and getting hold of a Death t-shirt, for example, would have been nigh impossible, and it wasn't that long ago. So you would have to find Death albums in very good and very big record shops, and with when I was getting into YouTube and whatnot and Facebook, and I was starting to write reviews for musictrespass.com at the time, and the Death back catalogue was being reissued by Relapse, and that's one thing he managed to do. He managed to get a good deal for the reissues of the Death back catalogue, and got a good deal, which brought in royalties for Chuck's family, for his mum and his sister, etc. And they put together really good reissues on Relapse, as you've all got, and they're still coming out today. There's different editions of the vinyls and whatnot. And this was around the time the reissue of Leprosy came out. I was fortunate enough to get the free disc edition. There was only 2,000 of these. And it was around this time, social media, for all its faults, I just sent the guy a direct message, and I said, "Is there any chance of interviewing you at all?" And he came back. This was a cool little story. So Eric was a lawyer, and through being a music manager, he was sued so many times. He actually got quite knowledgeable and quite savvy in the legal side of things. So he said, "Well, I pretty much know all the ins and outs of it anyway. Why don't I just quickly do a course and become a lawyer myself rather than having to hire one?" So that's what he did, and he was a practicing lawyer in his later days. And he had to go to Cornwall in order to attend a seminar, in order to update his license or something like that. So it was like a practicing license, and in order to update your license, you had to attend this seminar in Cornwall. So he flew from Canada, and he had to take a connection flight down to Cornwall. He would attend his seminar and then go home. And I think he had like a 3-hour gap in between flights. So he was ring me on this number at this time. And that's what I did. I was on the phone to Eric for a good hour in between his flights. And I had a really good chat with him. Got some cool little stories. And that was one of my highlights. Or, I'm still interviewing bands and stuff, but one of my highlights of all the people I've interviewed was Eric, and I was never fortunate enough to interview Chuck Schuldina, but I got the next best thing. I got a guy that was there the whole time, by his side, and he had insight into the whole story. And I will be linking that article and that interview in the description if you want to read it. But it was something I was really proud of, and yeah, it was just cool to catch Eric in that little thing with his work, you know, in between flights and while he was doing something on his day-to-day business. Really nice guy. I did keep in touch with him on Facebook as well. The odd message, the odd comment. Nothing too frequent, but yeah, he was, you know how it is on Facebook. But yeah, a real crying shame what happened to him today. He was in poor health for quite a while. He struggled with diabetes for quite a while. And I suppose it's like with all of these things, you know, sometimes you're taking medication for this, but then that ends up causing another problem, and then you take medicine for that problem, and it goes round and round, you know. And I know he was in need of a donor for quite a while, and I don't quite. It looks like, you know, I don't know the exact ins and outs of it, but it seems he took a turn for a worse. So yeah, so just best wishes and thoughts and prayers to his family. I know he's got 2 sons. They're, you know, they obviously must be devastated right now. But, you know, your dad was a cool guy, you know, and he did you proud, and you should be proud to have him as a father. And yeah, just a real shame. Real shame. He was a real nice guy, and left behind a really good legacy as well, and he did a lot for those in the world of metal. And yeah, he'll be sadly missed. So I hope you're having pizza and chicken wings with Chuck right now, Eric. And yeah, best wishes to his family, and rest in peace, loving memory to you, Eric. And yeah, I think as well as with Chuck, play those Death albums, play Numbskull and Mortal Skull and Morbid Saint, and he, you know, have a look on Metal Archives. He had quite an impressive little resume on his production list. Actually, it's a shame he didn't do it for longer. But yeah, he was involved with some really cool bands. So yeah, all the best to his family. Like I say, I'm repeating myself now. I'm just going on. It's just dawning, hitting me now. So yeah, Eric was a fucking cool guy. So blast some of these Death albums and let the metal flow. Take care, everyone. All the best. Take care of yourselves and each other. Cherish those that are nearer to you, because you never know what's around the corner. See you later, folks.